Hello and welcome to your Wednesday evening weirding session. I'm your host, C. Savory, creator of Fractal Praxis. This week, it's been weird, apropos of a Wednesday evening weirding session. In normally baking hot, sunny Colorado, it is currently gray, humid, rainy, and uncertain whether it wants to be cool or warm. In the world right now, there's a great weirdening afoot. My head is swimming with information from the news about the country, the outer world, and its breakdown. And internally, swirling with a dense swim through the systems of thought involved in fractal praxis, in furtherance of my writing projects. I spent all morning and early afternoon writing out various claims of the theory and categorizing them. And just a few minutes ago, I had a weird interaction. I collected some produce from our gardens here at Living Systems Institute, and I went to the Young Chicks run to offer them some of the deformed, chewed up cucumbers. And I heard a loud flapping noise and looked through the plastic panel window into the younger chick's coop to come face to face with a hawk that had somehow made its way through the two small doors that the chicks use to get into the coop, and it was stuck trying to get out through the window. I've never seen anything like that. I've certainly never handled a bird like that. So I flung open the door to the coop, but it wouldn't fly past me and out, and I also needed to play goalie to the chicks so that they don't run out the door. Many of the young chicks were huddled in the corner, kind of pressed around and against the metal watering canister, which I guess served as a kind of barrier to the hawk, because the hawk wasn't actively attacking them. I don't know how long the hawk was in the enclosure, but it was clearly stuck. Maybe it had been there for hours. So I decided I would run to the garage, grab my gardening gloves, and run to the garage, grab my leather palmed gardening gloves, and go and grab this falcon. I thought it was a falcon. It turned out to be a juvenile Cooper's hawk. So I grabbed this amazing bird and around the midsection, and it's flapping its long wings, and I'm startled, and it's startled. It starts clasping me with its claw. Thankfully, I had the leather gloves on. And then as soon as I opened the door, I pushed it out from me and released it, and it flew out of my hands up to the tree. Very cool experience and harrowing. After a moment of admiration, I went back into the coop to inspect the chicks. And unfortunately, one was dead. I removed the dead young chicken, and threw it in the field at first as an offering to the bird. A few minutes later, I would end up burying it because while I was telling the story of what happened to the property owner, I noticed another bird fly and sit on an electrical post in the backyard near the young chicks. And it was the same kind of bird, but even bigger. Turns out that was a very large, mature female Cooper's hawk, perhaps the mother of the juvenile. And it was watching the chicks, which were now in an enclosed, covered outdoor cubicle, much smaller than their full run, but at least they have that. She was watching them, and she was watching us. So I ended up burying the chick. I've been here for 3 years on this homestead. Never dealt with this particular scenario before. There's all different kinds of predators that coexist here. And it is indeed a principle of Living Systems Institute that we encourage wildlife. And while we don't want to encourage this particular wildlife to feed off of our chicks or chickens, it is part of the natural cycle that things would have interactions like this. The Cooper's hawks do a great job taking care of the many voles and bunnies that we have on the land, which are plentiful, and so now it's just our job to find a way to discourage them from targeting the chicks or chickens and build back up from here, create safety for the chicks, but also allow them back into their full run eventually. So we'll figure something out. But, just a couple hours ago, this was not a problem I thought we needed to solve, and now we have to solve it because it has emerged. Life on the farm, life cycles. The unexpected comes and goes, predation, death, life. And although we have had predators every year and have lost a bird or two every year, it's always under different circumstances. And to my knowledge, we have never lost one of the young chicks yet to predation until now. And yet here we are, here I am anyway, attempting to build a panoply of knowledge that can serve future generations and the preservation of lifeways like we practice at Living Systems Institute is crucial in ways that my parents' generation probably don't perceive for the most part, but that'll become relevant and salient at a future time in which collapse has taken stronger root in our society. So I'm proud to practice the lifeways that I do and to curate the lifeways that I do, both in fractal praxis and through Living Systems Institute. And I'm also proud to partner with the organizational consulting clients that I have that make it possible to and I'm proud to do the organizational development work that I do on behalf of organizations, co-ops, and companies that are going to make the world a better place to the best of their abilities. This is my situatedness. This is the ecosystem in which I occupy and inhabit the spaces that I do. And I have been overwhelmed lately by processing patterns of the exploitation of power and predatory behaviors at the scale of society and government lately. And it seems an apropos time to bring this particular piece out of the vaults for your listening and reading pleasure. This piece was written, I believe, a couple months, maybe a few months before COVID hit. And yet it is a prescient sentiment for our times as unraveling ascends all around us. Please enjoy. The world is breaking down now. Why wouldn't you, too? Consider this. When you die, you'll have to let all this stuff you believe you are go, too. Why not let it go now? And be the lighter for it. What you come to know if you study it is selves break down, are not real so much as have perspective-dependent verisimilitude, are temporary structures organized by conditioning. What you'll come to find, I hope, is that selves are a lot of baggage. They're not so workable in a crisis. They bog down because they're not real. When you're forced to respond to an immediate crisis, where does the self go? It is released for the instant, but for the act of defending its existence. When your notions of self break down, concordant with the breakdown of the social fabric by which you, quote unquote, have been constructed, and with the breakdown of base ecological conditions, what will you become? A being, breathing again. A returning to baseline. And I'm not talking about regression. I'm talking about awareness of ourselves as a process, primarily. The rest is complexity writ up from elegance and subject to change, to reorganization. But being is a process. And you are that. Life persists because it can strip down to its base operating premises, as it may need to. And what are those patterns, fractally expressed through all beings? Neg-entropy via cognition. And what if we just remembered, readopted, and lived dynamically by this soul code? It is what we are, after all. When we strip the rest away, or when the rest is stripped from us, it is what we are, after all. When I sit with you and listen, I am embodying full trust and interest in what you find there. With inquiries and reflections, with inquiries and reflection, with inquiries and inflections of my own reflections, my own sense-making offered like amendments, I guide your attention, help restructure your patterning. I am living from a knowledge that when all is lost, I am witnessing a sense-making process that never fails, though it is not free from faultiness, though it is not always cultivated. I need you to know there is a you beyond who you think you are right now. And what do you owe that you? And that you to you? If you don't awaken to what's workable in your world, in our world, in your being, which is that you are best understood as a learning process, as sense-making itself, then I can't help you. And worse, you can't help yourself. What is there, what doesn't yield but persists in pattern, teaches you of your own nature. What is there to be worked with, must be worked with. If you work from false premises, you get muddled results. If you enact false selves, you'll get cruddy enactment. You can't afford that, nor can I. The world is breaking down. Why not you, too? So, I wish to help you right yourself, get on course of purpose again through the sense we make of it, a little fractal of life means in miniature. So your actions coordinate, synchronize with your deeper being, your true self and root purpose, and thus are more generally liable to hit any locally relevant mark. You could praise or deride this as vision, as the platform for all action, thinking, and doing. But it is even deeper than that. It is fit. Clarity, liberation into a truer form, brings the world truer in refracted reflection. Where dissonance between self and world through the door of insight to collective wisdom is diminished, karma is undone. And damned do we need this praxis now. Okay, I don't really like that piece that I just read. It's unnecessarily complicated. Not complex, my dear self from 5 years ago. Complicated. So let me try to riff. I found a piece from my archives that I created just a few weeks or months before COVID-19 hit us. And it is a bit cryptic for my present day aesthetic tastes in what it's conveying. So I'm going to attempt to perform an original variation on this piece, live and spontaneously, drawing upon what's alive in me right now today with the way the world is going and the intuition that was captured in this piece originally from 5 or 6 years ago. The piece is called "The World is Breaking Down. Why Not You Too?" Please enjoy. The world is breaking down now. Why wouldn't you too? What if now were a time for you to let more of the self you cling to for safety go? What if for where we're going, we are going to need much more agile selves? Ones not attached to stories that themselves stem from mythos and societies on the brink of calamity, but that are sourced from somewhere much deeper. You see, in a crisis, when immediate action is called for, where does the self go? It is released for that moment, which reveals its superfluousness. A self is the illusion of a static phenomenon, an identity in time and space that is enduring across time. But what I'm here to remind you of is that selves break down. Selves are fragile constructs comprised of the media internalized, the meaning made from one's life, the stories reinforced about oneself. But as a construct, it costs a lot of biological and mental and emotional labor to maintain a self. And what if selves aren't going to deliver us across this survival threshold? You see, the world is breaking down now. Why not you too? Why not take the opportunity to lose yourself before you lose your life? If you could let it all go now, since you'll have to let it all go one day once you're dead, if you could let it all go now and be the lighter, more agile for it, why not? When our map of the world breaks down because the patterns no longer keep, what becomes of us? We become all discombobulated, disarrayed, disordered, and we will suffer there until we recognize the opportunity for a transcendent order to break through this very moment. There is a version of yourself that transcends the construct of self. That is the floor of existence. That is the Om at the center of the universe. That is being as a process rather than self as a noun or object. Being as a process, that you are. And from that sense-making process, the self that you may need to survive this moment will spontaneously arise. If you trust that you know what to do, and you become trustworthy by not investing your time and energy into the maintenance of false selves, then you are empowered in a crisis. And all of the myths of society you once invested in can crumble, and you will be affected, but you will not be consumed. So again, the world is breaking down now. Who will you become if you let yourself break down too? Will you encounter the breakthrough involved? Thank you so much for reading and listening. Please continue to tune in each week as I continue to do my sacred work to unfurl fractal praxis into the world. Thanks again. Peace be with you. Blessed be.